I want to take this opportunity to talk about Revit Elements. While it is helpful to know how to perform a certain task using Revit architecture, I think it is more important to understand how the software is structured, and that is what we're going to be focusing on in this video. If you are learning Revit and you can only pick one video to watch, to me, this is the video. Let's get started. Revit uses various elements to produce a complete project, and each element is organized into different categories. Furthermore, each category is organized into hierarchy. With that concept in mind, about 90 to 95% of the tasks that you perform using Revit architecture will be around this concept. Let's first talk about the organization. Then I will show you a few examples of how Revit utilizes this structure in various tasks. As mentioned earlier, Revit uses elements in order to make up a complete project. If you go to Autodesk website and search for Revit elements, you see that Autodesk categorized Revit elements into three different groups: model elements, datum elements, and view-specific elements. When thinking about model elements, I want you to think of elements that has a physical form that you can actually touch, such as walls, windows, doors, faucet, light switches, toilet, and etc. Take this sample project for instance. The dining set that you see on the floor plan is an example of model elements. Windows, doors, toilet, kitchen sink are also considered model elements as well. The next items is datum elements. In order to understand datum elements, it helps to have some basic understanding of how three-dimensional software works. Three-dimensional software utilizes a Cartesian coordinate system, x, y, and z, in order for an object to take physical form in three-dimensional space. Points are created in relationship to the origin, which is where x, y, and z intersect. And those points in turn give physical object width, height, and depth. Now in order for an object to exist away from the origin, an offset is used. An offset can be from one axis or all three axes at the same time. It can also be in positive direction or negative direction or combination. For example, column grids are used in floor plan to give horizontal references in x and y direction. On elevations and sections, elevation levels are used to give vertical references in the z direction. It is kind of tricky at the moment to show you an example of how column grids are used, but I can give you a quick example of how elevation levels are used as a reference. If we just take a quick look at window number 28 on the floor plan, right hand side of the screen, it is selected at the moment, and in the property palette, it is referencing level 1 top of slab. Beneath that, it is showing that the bottom of the window, which is the window sill, is offset 3 feet 6 inches from level 1 top of slab. So the selected window is currently referencing level 1 top of slab. Now if you can imagine with me that level 1 top of slab is a sheet of paper that spans horizontally to the infinite, and we're using this plane as a reference plane. The location of this plane is 0 in the z direction. Any object above this plane will have to have a positive offset. Or if you want any object to be below this plane, the offset have to have negative value. Now if I want this window 28 to move down, I have to reduce the offset and therefore make the window closer to the reference plane. Here I am going to change the value to 2 feet 6 inches instead of 3 feet 6 inches. You will see that window 28 moved down from its previous location. What just happened was the window shifted along the z-axis and toward the negative direction. Now, the bottom of the window or sill is 2 feet 6 inches from level 1 top of slab. Finally, view-specific elements. Think of view-specific element as elements that gives your project a final finishing touch. Examples for view-specific elements include dimensions, annotations, room tags, window tags, and etc. Back to our example floor plans, you can see that we use dimension to give us, for example, distance between grid lines, width of specific rooms, and location for windows and doors. Room tags, window tags, and door tags give us reference to room finish schedule, door schedule, and window schedule. View-specific element exists in specific view only and will not get transferred to another views unless we specify it. Those are just a few examples of view-specific elements. Next, I want to talk about element hierarchy. Every Revit element is organized in this fashion. It starts with category, then family, then type, then instances. With category being at the highest level, it is the most general, and instances at the lowest level, it is the most specific. Let's pause for a moment and think about category. Category is something very, very broad. For instance, plumbing fixtures is a category because plumbing fixtures can include toilet, sink, faucet, and etc. Furniture. Furniture can be a category because furniture can include chair, table, coffee table, and etc. For this example, we're going to take a look at walls. Wall falls under category, but then it can be further defined by stucco wall, concrete wall, or CMU wall. Those three items belongs to family. Now if we just focus on stucco wall. Stucco wall can have various thickness. It could be 4 inches thick, 6 inches thick, 8 inches thick, or even thicker. Now these thicknesses further define stucco wall, and therefore they belong to type. And now if we focus even further into just one type of wall, let's take 8 inches stucco wall for this example. This 8 inches stucco wall can be stuffed with an R15, an R19, or an R30 insulation without affecting the thickness of the wall. And therefore, the 8 inches stucco wall with different types of insulation falls under instances. Hopefully you can see now how element hierarchy starts from the most general and work its way towards specific. Let's have a look at how element hierarchy looks like in Revit software. In keeping with the previous slide, we're going to look at walls. In this case, the category is basic wall, is the most general. I'm calling this one basic wall because there are two kinds of wall, basic wall and curtain wall. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to forget that curtain wall exists. Then it can be broken down into many types of walls. For example, stucco and concrete. Stucco wall can have various thickness as well as concrete wall. For example, it can be 4 inches thick, 6 inches thick, or 8 inches thick. Take 8 inches stucco wall for example. We can stuff these walls with different insulation. We can stuff it with R15, R19, or R30. Similar situation can happen with a concrete wall. Concrete wall can be 6 inches thick, 8 inches, or 12 inches. Take 12 inches concrete wall for example. The 12 inches concrete wall can have different sizes of rebar. It can have number 3, number 4, or number 5 rebar. Let's have a look at how this wall originated in Revit. So if I go to Architecture, tab, Wall, that is the category. Then on the Property palette, under Type Selector, I can select the family and the type of wall here. On this list, various wall families and various wall family types are displayed. If I scroll all the way down, these are my custom stucco wall. So here you see that stucco wall is a family and the type of stucco wall is 4 inches. If I take this wall by clicking it and place it here right next to my previous 4 inches wall, it'll look identical. Now if I click on the existing 4 inches stucco wall, the property palette will show us that the wall family is stucco wall and the family type is 4 inches. Now I'm going to select the 6 inches wall. Here, the wall family is still stucco wall, but family type is 6 inches. Again, the wall family here is still stucco wall, however, the family type is 8 inches. If I work my way to the right and select one with the R15, you will see no changes in the property palette. However, if I scroll down and look under comment, I made a comment at an instant level that said this wall has R15 insulation. I'm going to work my way down again and click on the R19. The comment changes again at an instant level that said R19 and R30 and so on. Notice that the 3 walls selected previously, the category, family, type remains the same. The only difference between those 3 walls are the comment, which were made at an instant level. The same structure works for concrete wall as well. So far, the example I gave you were of model elements. Let's see some example of how element hierarchy looks like in view-specific element. Let's take dimension for instance. To select dimension, on the screen, I will select Annotate tab. Then right off the bat, you see that dimension is the category, and you see different types of family, which are align, linear, angular, radial, diameter, arc length. At family level, I'm going to select linear. Under type selector, the first example I'm going to pick is going to be linear 3/32 aerial. For the next example, I'm going to select linear 1/8 of an inch aerial. And for the last example, I'm going to select linear 1/4 inch aerial. The three examples that you see on the screen are all of the same category and same family, but different family type. In this example, the category is dimension, the family is linear, and family type are 3/32 aerial, 1/8 of an inch aerial, and 1/4 inch aerial. I'm going to hit escape twice to get out of the current command. For this example, there isn't much that we can change in an instant level. Let's have a look at what we can do. I'm going to use linear dimension again and add one more dimension over here. I'm going to change this to 3/32 aerial and get rid of the other two. Now we have two identical dimensions. They are identical in terms of category, family, and type. If I select one of the dimension, any changes that can be made in property palette, those changes will be in an instant level. Let's see what this thing does. The leader is checked at the moment. So if I were to pull this out from its home location and do the same, you can see that text leader will add it to both dimensions. With the dimension on the right selected, if I uncheck, text leader is removed. Although these two dimensions are of the same category, same family, same type, they are no longer of the same instances. So with the two examples that I just gave you, hopefully you can see that even though Revit handles model elements and view specific elements a little bit differently, as far as element hierarchy is concerned, they both structured exactly the same way. At this point, I think you have an idea, so I'm going to skip an example for the datum elements. Finally, we can take a look at how element hierarchy help us work more efficiently in Revit environment. In this example, I added cars and dining set on my construction document set for reference. But the line weights are a little bit too dark, making it a little bit difficult to see other information that is more important. So what I can do here is I can make the line for those items lighter and less distracting. With the structure that we have, the element hierarchy, I can just select one of the object. In this case, I'm selecting the dining chair, right click, and override graphic in view. I'm going to check anything that is under the same category. In this case, anything that's under furniture category. Then change it to halftone. As you can see, not only the selected dining chair changes to gray, the other dining chair along with stool around the breakfast nook and the dining table changes to gray as well. Now this can happen because even though all of those three items are of different family, they share the same category, which is furniture. And for that reason, we were able to select them and make changes to them all at the same time. I can do the same for cars. Just hover over one of the car, right click, then select override graphics in view, and then by category, because I want everything that falls in the same category as car to be selected. I'm going to change them to halftone, and there you can see it again. Not only the car selected turned to gray, the other car next to it, since it shares the same category, the line weight turned to halftone as well. One last example I'm going to give you in regards to how we use element hierarchy in helping us work more efficiently in Revit is this. Say if you got a call from marketing and asks you for a floor plan that they can use for marketing purpose. As you can see on the screen, the floor plan that we have here is for construction purpose, but we can quickly clean it up by getting rid of some elements that are not necessary for marketing. Let's take a look at how it's done. We can window select everything and use the filter to help us select only the items that we need. On the top left corner of the dialog box, you can see that category is used as a tool for this filter. Next, I'm going to deselect everything, then reselect only the items that I want to get rid of. Dimensions, door tags, keynote tags, room tags, text notes, and window tags. Once I click OK, the only items with the check mark in front will be selected. Here, the items that are selected are shown in blue. By hovering over one of the items shown in blue and right-click, you get a drop-down menu. Since I didn't want to get rid of this item permanently, instead of just deleting it, I'm going to select Hide in View, then Elements. Now it looks a little bit less busy, but I noticed that I missed the detail callout. So I'm just going to hover over one of the detail callout and right-click to get the drop-down menu. This time I'm going to use Select All Instances. So what's going to happen is, the elements that will get selected, not only it has to be in the same category, family, and type, the instances has to match as well. Since I only want the changes to occur in this view only, I will select Visible in View. On the screen, the detail callout that meets all the criteria that I mentioned earlier will be highlighted in blue. Now you can just hover over one of the detail callout, right-click, then select Hide in View, Elements. At this point, I'm pretty sure you get the idea. Even though this concept may be a little bit difficult to understand if you are beginners, but the more you use the software, the more you understand how this concept is very important. Beginners, I want to encourage you to at least watch this video once, then come back and revisit it again as you use the software more. Hit me up in the comment if you have any question. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.